everyone! For Christmas I received these two books, and while I've been excited to read them, there's one thing that I've been missing. Let's make some bookmarks. To start out, I measure the size of the book to make sure that the bookmark won't be too big or too small. For the width, I'm lightly making some guidelines, but when I draw, I usually go outside of these slightly, so I'm not worried about making them dark right now. Now we can start sketching what we want on these bookmarks. For these, I'm going to draw my favorite Sonic girls, starting with Amy. I've mentioned before that I don't really like to film my sketch process because I redo a lot of things and I change my mind often. That and having a camera watch everything I do kind of puts me on edge, and I feel like it makes me mess up more. I first sketch with an erasable colored pencil, which, by the way, calling these things erasable is a bit generous in my opinion. If these things are really erasable, then they should start acting like it. I use this stage to flesh out the form of whatever I'm drawing, and this is where I want to make and correct all of my mistakes. The next step is using another sketch pencil to define how the figure will look after the line art is added. I do this instead of going straight to the line art so that I can catch any proportional mistakes or any other mistakes that slip through the previous stage. Once I'm happy with my sketch, I use a kneaded eraser to lighten it. I don't do this all the time, but sometimes I like to start with the coloring rather than the line art. Alcohol markers can make the line art smudge if you don't wait for it to dry, so it can be a lot easier to lay down some color first. Using some good old Prismacolor pencils, I start shading and adding texture to Amy's quills and the white parts of her clothes and her dress. As I get down to her shoes, I sprinkle in some black lines where I had just done blue lines to make them pop a bit more. I tried to make her bracelets look like that really shiny type of gold. I used some reference, but I've never really colored anything that's gold before, so I guess it's whatever. It's not the best, but it's not the worst ever. Using another marker, I added some shading to the dress and then go ahead and define her border. For the background, I do a blue at the top and a lavender at the bottom and blend them together. Before I can go any farther, my work must be inspected by an expert. Once she gives me the green light, we can go ahead and finish Amy's dress. Amy has a white hem on her dress, but I thought it would look cuter if that hem was turned into frill, which I try to make with my white gel pen, but it seems to be dried up. So instead, I grab a Posca pen and just do the same figure 8 motions to make it work. I added some stars and shimmers to the background and then added some highlights just about everywhere on her. Our next girly is Rouge the Bat, and she will be going in the bigger book, so I'm making her dimensions taller and wider. You can really make the dimensions as wide as you want, provided it doesn't stick out of your book, but you know. I've been drawing for a majority of my life, and when I was in 3rd grade, I got really into playing the Sonic Adventure games, so I started drawing the Sonic characters a lot. I taught myself how to draw by drawing Sonic characters, and now whenever I'm burnt out or I just need a warm-up, I sketch out some shadows or some Amy's just to get the juices flowing. As a result of drawing Sonic characters all my life, I've also drawn them in hundreds of different styles, so they don't tend to look the same, as is the case here. For Rouge's background, I made it a solid turquoise, which was the same color I used for her eyes. After that, I added some white details to her top and the highlights of her eyes. I went back over her pants with my purple Posca pen, and then had the idea to add some sparkly effect to it. I wasn't sure how to make what I assume is the latex of her outfit shine, so I was kind of just making random dots on her when I thought I could pull off this glittery or sequiny look. I did this for all of the pink parts of her outfit and her eyelids. To get this effect, I took a color that matched the base, so a pink pen if I was working on her hearts, white, and then a color that was darker than the base. I dotted them randomly over the surface and outside of the surface a little bit to give it the look like the glitter was coming off and surrounding her. Admittedly, I was having too much fun with this effect and I might have gone a bit overboard with the background. You can't really see the glitter that surrounds her outfit and she just kind of drowns in the sparkle. If I could do this over again, I would definitely keep the background simple and have the effect only be on her. After these girlies are all done, I rip them out of my sketchbook, which thankfully has serrated pages so that I can have a clean tear. Now it's time to make them into bookmarks. Before we do any cutting, we're going to have to go over materials. For this, you're going to want clear packing tape, but you need to be careful. Some packing tapes have markings on that tape and aren't very clear. If you use ones like the ones I'm showing you, it's going to ruin your picture. Also, I did change Rouge's pants to be solid so that there would be some breakup in the glitter in her design. Anyway, before you do any cutting, because I know you are all eager with those little scissors of yours, I recommend taping over your drawings first as to avoid any inconvenience with the tape wanting to stick to itself or just be difficult to work with in general. The tape is not as wide as the bookmark, so my first pass I put one strip over the center of the drawing, leaving plenty to hang over the edges. Remember, it's better to have more that you can cut off later than to add too little and have to add too many separate sections of tape. I'm also smoothing out the tape as I go along to avoid bubbles or any ridges in the tape. After you struggle to get the paper off of the surface you taped it to, it's time to cut. Cut off the extra tape on the tops and the bottoms first to make it easier. Once the extra is off, we can flip it over and do the exact same thing on the back of the drawing. Now that both front and back are completely covered, we can go ahead and cut these girlies out. After they're cut out, we need to give the sides of the bookmark the same treatment. Place the tape over the front of the drawing with a good amount hanging over the edge. Next, cut around the corner so that everything can lay down flat on the back. Then you wrap the edges around with the tape and you're done. One thing I forgot to mention, because I didn't really think of it until after I had finished everything, is that you can add a back to the bookmark before you tape everything up. Like, get a piece of construction paper, you can draw something else and just have like a back and front. But yeah, I didn't think about it, so I didn't do it. Sorry. One last detail I do want to add to my Rouge bookmark is that I want to give her a little tassel. She's got some room at the top, so I'm punching a hole through it and then threading some yarn through it. I'm knotting the yarn close to the bookmark, but I don't want to make it too tight or it could make the bookmark bend. I give it about half of the length of my finger worth of room, and then I start to tie it. At this point, you can do whatever you want with the tassel. I chose to braid mine and then tie a teal piece of yarn around the end. And now we're officially done! Look at that! These came out better than I expected they would. Now for the moment of truth, let's put them in some books. First is Perspective Made Easy, which I made Amy specifically for. She fits! Look at that, that's great. Next is my second edition of Your Career in Animation, a book which I have not read the first edition for. But Rouge fits great in there too, and the tassel can also act as a second page marker if you so desire it to. I'm so tickled at these! Does that make me old? I'm excited about bookmarks. If you followed along and made your own bookmarks, post them on Instagram and tag me. Link for that will be in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on future content. I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye!